First contact. The year was 2157, and humanity had finally achieved the dream of deep space exploration. Sleek, fusion-powered ships ventured out from Earth, Titan, and Mars, seeking new worlds and new civilizations. It was a time of great optimism and unity for the people of Sol. That all changed when the Zorgans appeared. The first contact with this advanced alien species seemed promising. Their vast, crystalline ships hung in space near Jupiter, and initial communications were peaceful, even friendly. Earth's leaders saw an opportunity for cooperation and learning. But the truth soon became clear. The Zorgans were not explorers or diplomats, but conquerors. Their overtures of peace were merely a facade to assess Earth's strength. When they demanded humanity's unconditional surrender and servitude, Earth's response was swift and defiant. "We will never bow to alien tyranny," declared President Nara Singh in a historic address to the United Nations. "Humanity stands united against this threat. We will fight for our freedom and our future among the stars." The people of Earth rallied to the call. Old rivalries and conflicts were set aside as every nation poured resources into a massive military buildup. The most brilliant minds were assembled to study captured Zorgan technology and develop new weapons. In an unprecedented show of global unity, the United Earth Defense Fleet was formed. The first battles were costly. The Zorgans' advanced ships and weapons took a heavy toll on the fledgling human fleet. But with each engagement, Earth's forces learned and adapted. Brave pilots and clever tacticians found ways to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. Among them was Captain Ava Moreno, who led a daring raid to destroy a key Zorgan supply base. Her innovative Star Swarm tactic, using swarms of nimble fighter drones to overwhelm enemy defenses, became a staple of human strategy. Ava's close friend and engineering genius, Dr. Kei Nakamura, worked tirelessly to reverse engineer Zorgan technology. His breakthroughs in shielding and propulsion gave Earth's ships a fighting chance against the more advanced alien vessels. As the war ground on, humanity's resolve only grew stronger. United by a common threat and driven by an indomitable will to survive, they met the Zorgan aggression with unyielding defiance. In the halls of power, in the factories and shipyards, in the ranks of the fleet, a single phrase became a rallying cry: "Earth will never surrender." The Zorgans had come to conquer a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves locked in a bitter struggle against an enemy that refused to yield. The war for Earth's survival and humanity's future among the stars had only just begun. The Terran Alliance. As the war against the Zorgans entered its second year, the nations of Earth took an historic step. In a solemn ceremony at the rebuilt United Nations headquarters in Geneva, the leaders of every country signed the Terran Alliance Charter. "Today, we stand not as separate nations, but as one people," declared Secretary General Amira Farouk. "We are all citizens of Earth, united in our determination to secure our freedom and our future." Under the banner of the Terran Alliance, humanity's war effort reached new heights. The best and brightest from every field, science, engineering, tactics, intelligence, worked together in an unprecedented spirit of cooperation and shared purpose. In the shipyards of Earth and Mars, a new generation of warships took shape, sleek, powerful, and bristling with the most advanced weapons and defenses. These vessels incorporated the hard-won lessons of the early battles against the Zorgans. The most famous of these was the Tiaeus Indomitable, a massive battleship armed with Dr. Nakamura's latest innovation, the quantum lance. This devastating weapon could pierce through the strongest Zorgan shields and hulls, turning the tide in many engagements. The Indomitable was commanded by none other than the legendary Captain Ava Moreno, now an admiral. Her daring tactics and inspiring leadership had made her a hero to the people of Earth and a nightmare to the Zorgans. Under Moreno's command, the Indomitable and its battle group struck deep into Zorgan-held territory, disrupting their supply lines, destroying key bases, and even liberating several occupied human colonies. These victories boosted morale across the Alliance and earned Moreno the nickname, the Hammer of Soul. But the war was far from over. The Zorgans, though pushed back, remained a formidable foe. Their advanced technology still gave them an edge in many areas, and their vast empire allowed them to absorb heavy losses and keep fighting. Moreover, cracks began to appear in the unity of the Terran alliance. Some member states, exhausted by years of total war, argued for seeking a negotiated peace with the Zorgans. Others advocated for even more aggressive tactics, including preemptive strikes on Zorgan worlds. Admiral Moreno found herself not just fighting the enemy in space, but also navigating a treacherous political landscape on Earth. Some in the Alliance leadership saw her as a liability, a reckless glory seeker who risked provoking the Zorgans into escalating the war. Moreno's response was characteristically blunt. The Zorgans started this war, and will end it. On our terms, there can be no peace until the threat to Earth is eliminated. As the debates raged in the halls of power, the war in space took a disturbing turn. Zorgan ships and tactics began to change, becoming more unpredictable and ruthless. Rumors swirled of a new Zorgan weapon under development, something that could tip the balance firmly in their favor. The stage was set for a critical phase in the conflict, one that would test the resolve and ingenuity of humanity like never before. The fate of Earth and the future of the Terran alliance hung by a thread. Fractures and breakthroughs. Admiral Ava Moreno stood on the bridge of the TAS Indomitable, her brow furrowed as she studied the latest intelligence reports. The data painted a troubling picture. Zorgan activity was surging in the Kappa Quadrant, a region of space known to contain several ancient, abandoned megastructures from a long-vanished alien civilization. "They're looking for something," Moreno muttered. "And they're keeping us too busy to find out what," replied her first officer, Commander Raldias. It was true. The past months had seen a flurry of Zorgan attacks across Alliance space, stretching humanity's forces thin. Even the mighty Indomitable and its battle group had been rushed from one hotspot to another, with barely a moment to resupply and repair. Moreno couldn't shake the feeling that these attacks were a diversion, a smoke screen to keep the Alliance distracted while the Zorgans pursued their true objective in Kappa Quadrant. But what could they be after? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Key Nakamura, Moreno's old friend and the Alliance's top xenotechnology expert, burst onto the bridge, his face alight with excitement. "Ava, I've got it," he exclaimed. "I know what the Zorgans are looking for." Nakamura's team had been analyzing fragments of ancient alien data recovered from a derelict structure in Kappa Quadrant. They'd uncovered references to a technology called the Singularity Core, a device that could manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. "If the Zorgans get their hands on this, it's game over," Nakamura said gravely. "They could use it to instantly transport their entire fleet anywhere in the galaxy, or create impenetrable defenses, or—" He didn't need to finish. The implications were clear. The Singularity Core could give the Zorgans an unbeatable advantage. Moreno knew what had to be done. The Indomitable and its crew had to find the core before the Zorgans did. It was a mission that could decide the fate of the war, and of humanity itself. But even as Moreno prepared her ship and crew for this critical operation, trouble was brewing back on Earth. The fractures in the Terran Alliance had grown into full-blown fissures. A bloc of member states, led by the charismatic and ambitious Senator Tomas Velasco, openly called for a ceasefire with the Zorgans. They argued that the war had become unwinnable, and that humanity's only hope was to negotiate a peace, even if it meant accepting some form of Zorgan dominance. On the other side, a faction of hardliners demanded an even more aggressive approach. They advocated for the development of banned weapons technologies, including eye-controlled warships and genetic augmentation for soldiers. To them, victory was the only acceptable outcome, no matter the cost. Caught in the middle were those like Moreno and Nakamura, who believed that humanity's strength lay in its unity and its principles. They argued that abandoning the Alliance's values in pursuit of victory would be a betrayal of what they were fighting for. As the political battles raged on Earth, Moreno and her crew raced towards Kappa Quadrant, determined to secure the Singularity core. But they weren't the only ones on the hunt. Unknown to the Alliance, a secretive faction within its own ranks had dispatched an elite team of operatives to Kappa Quadrant. Their mission: to secure the core for their own purposes and use it to seize control of the Alliance itself. As all these forces converged on the ancient alien megastructures, the stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the future of humanity, and perhaps of the entire galaxy. The stakes had never been higher, and the lines between friend and foe had never been blurrier. In the heart of Kappa Quadrant, the next chapter of the war, and of humanity's destiny, was about to be written. Turning Point. The ancient alien megastructure loomed before the TA's Indomitable, a vast, twisted edifice of unknown metal and pulsing energy. Somewhere within its labyrinthine corridors lay the Singularity core, the key to victory in the war against the Zorgans, and perhaps to the future of humanity itself. Admiral Ava Moreno stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen. "Status report," she barked. "Scans indicate a large Zorgan force approaching from Sector 9, replied the tactical officer. "ETA, 20 minutes. Moreno nodded grimly. They were running out of time. "What about our friends?" she asked, referring to the rogue Alliance faction that had dispatched its own team to the megastructure. "No sign of them yet," said Commander Diaz. "But they're out there somewhere." Moreno turned to Dr. Nakamura. "Key, tell me you've found a way in." The scientist nodded, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "I've analyzed the energy signatures. There's a pattern, a code. I think I can use it to open a portal into the structure." "Do it," Moreno ordered. "Diaz, prepare a strike team. We're going in." As Nakamura worked feverishly at his console, Moreno addressed her crew. "I won't lie to you," she said. "This is it. What we do here today will decide the fate of this war, and of our species. The Zorgans are coming, and they'll stop at nothing to get the core. But we're going to beat them to it. For Earth, for the Alliance, for every man, woman, and child counting on us, we will not fail." A cheer went up from the crew as Nakamura announced, "Portals open." Moreno led the strike team herself. Armed with the latest plasma rifles and quantum grenades, they stepped through the shimmering portal and into the eerie, echoing halls of the megastructure. They were immediately met with resistance. Zorgan soldiers, their crystalline exoskeletons glinting in the strange light, opened fire with their disintegrator beams. The humans fought back with discipline and courage, their advanced armor absorbing the worst of the alien weapons' impact. Moreno was a whirlwind of action, her rifle blazing as she led the charge deeper into the structure. "Push forward," she yelled over the din of battle. "We have to reach the core." But the Zorgans kept coming, wave after wave of them, pouring out from the structure's depths. Moreno realized with a sinking feeling that they were being delayed, and that could only mean one thing. "Admiral," came Nakamura's voice over the comm. "The rogue team, they're here. They've reached the core chamber." Moreno cursed under her breath. The situation had just gotten a whole lot more complicated. She made a split-second decision. "Change of plan," she announced to her team. "We're not just here to secure the core. We're here to keep it out of anyone's hands, Zorgan or human." They fought their way to the core chamber, a vast, pulsing room dominated by a glowing sphere of pure energy. The rogue team was there, locked in combat with a contingent of elite Zorgan warriors. Moreno and her team joined the fray, but it was clear they were outmatched. The Zorgans were too many, too strong. Just as all seemed lost, a brilliant flash lit up the chamber. The Indomitable, badly damaged but still fighting, had fired its quantum lance directly into the megastructure. The effect was cataclysmic. The structure began to collapse around them, the core's energy fluctuating wildly. "We have to destroy it," Moreno yelled. Together, the Indomitable's crew and the rogue team turned their weapons on the core. Under the combined onslaught of plasma, quantum energy, and the megastructure's own collapsing power, the Singularity core destabilized and exploded in a blinding flash of light. The explosion ripped through the Zorgon fleet, the shockwave tearing their ships apart. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew watched in awe as their enemy was annihilated before their eyes. It was a turning point in the war, a moment that would be remembered for generations. The Zorgons had been dealt a critical blow, their most advanced technology destroyed along with a significant portion of their fleet. But the victory had come at a high cost. Many brave humans had lost their lives in the battle, and the Indomitable itself was badly damaged. As Moreno and her exhausted crew limped back to Earth, they knew that the war was far from over. The Zorgons were still out there, still a threat, and the divisions within the Alliance hadn't gone away. But they had shown what humanity was capable of when it stood united. They had faced the greatest threat in their species' history, and they had triumphed. As they looked out at the stars, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As one people, one alliance, one humanity. The battle for the Singularity core was over. But the war for the future had only just begun. Part 5. Victory and Vigilance. The fall of the Zorgon homeworld was as sudden as it was decisive. With their fleet in disarray after the destruction of the Singularity core, the aliens could mount little defense against the full might of the Terran Alliance. Admiral Iva Moreno led the charge, the rebuilt and upgraded TA's Indomitable at the vanguard of an armada of human ships. They descended on the crystal spires of the Zorgon capital like avenging angels, their weapons blazing with fierce, righteous anger. The Zorgons fought back with the desperation of a species facing extinction. But without the technological edge granted by the core, they were no match for the united fury of humanity. In a matter of days, the planet was in Alliance hands. The once proud Zorgon leadership, their exoskeletons cracked and their spirit broken, emerged from their shattered palaces to offer unconditional surrender. Across Earth and its colonies, the news was greeted with an outpouring of joy and relief. Spontaneous celebrations erupted in the streets as people of all nations and backgrounds came together to mark the end of the long and terrible war. In the Grand Plaza of the newly christened Unity City on Mars, Alliance President Amira Farouk addressed a cheering crowd. "Today, we have achieved a great victory," she declared, her voice ringing with emotion. "But let us never forget the price we paid for it, the brave men and women who gave their lives so that we might live free." Among those honored for their service were Admiral Moreno and her valiant crew, Dr. Ki Nakamura and his tireless team of scientists, and countless others who had risked everything in defense of Earth and its people. But even as humanity savored its triumph, there were those who warned against complacency. The Zorgons were broken, but not extinct. And in the vast expanse of the galaxy, who knew what other threats might lurk? To address these concerns, the Terran Alliance was restructured into a permanent galactic government, its mission to maintain peace, foster cooperation between worlds, and defend humanity against any future threats. The new Galactic Union, as it was called, established a network of outposts and patrols across known space, ever vigilant for signs of potential danger. Admiral Moreno, now hailed as the savior of humanity, took on a new role as the head of the Union's military arm. Under her watchful eye, the human fleet was maintained at a high state of readiness, its ships and weapons constantly upgraded to keep pace with the latest advancements. But Moreno knew that the true strength of humanity lay not in its ships or its guns, but in its spirit, the indomitable will that had carried them through the darkest days of the war. She made it her mission to nurture that spirit, to ensure that the hard-won lessons of the Zorgon conflict would never be forgotten. In the years that followed, humanity expanded its reach across the stars, establishing new colonies, forging alliances with friendly species, and exploring the wonders and mysteries of the cosmos. They were a species reborn, united by a common purpose and a shared destiny. But they never forgot the sacrifices of those who had fought and died to secure their future. On every world, in every city, Monuments were raised to honor the heroes of the war, the brave soldiers, the brilliant scientists, the leaders who had guided humanity through its darkest hour. And always on the edge of known space, the ships of the Galactic Union kept their silent vigil, ready to defend humanity against whatever challenges the future might bring. They were the shield and sword of Earth, the guardians of a hard-won peace. As Admiral Moreno stood on the bridge of her flagship, gazing out at the infinite expanse of stars, she reflected on the long journey that had brought them to this moment. The war had tested them, pushed them to the brink of destruction. But in the end, it had only made them stronger. Earth had faced the universe's worst, and it had emerged victorious, not just through the strength of its weapons, but through the courage, the resilience, the unbreakable unity of its people. That was the true legacy of the war, Moreno thought. Not just the defeat of the Zorgans, but the forging of a new human spirit. A spirit that would carry them forward to even greater heights, to even more wondrous destinies. The war was over, but the story of humanity, the story of their rise to greatness among the stars, was only just beginning. And Moreno knew, with a deep and abiding certainty, that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them as they always had, together, united, invincible. For they were the people of Earth, the children of Sol. They had looked into the face of annihilation, and they had emerged triumphant. Their war machine had been the hammer that shaped the galaxy. Now, their unity and their resolve would be the anvil upon which a lasting peace, a brighter future, would be forged. The Zorgans had sought to conquer them. Instead, they had only succeeded in making humanity stronger, more determined than ever to seize its destiny among the stars. And so, as the ships of the Galactic Union sailed forth into the endless expanse, as the people of Earth looked to a future bright with promise and possibility, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same. For the children of Sol had arrived, and they were here to stay. Thus ends the saga of humanity's greatest trial and triumph. But the story of their adventures, their discoveries, their endless quest to explore and understand the cosmos, that story has only just begun. And it is a story that will be told for generations to come, a shining beacon of hope and inspiration for all who follow in their footsteps. For this is the legacy of Earth, the birthright of humanity. To reach for the stars, to dare the impossible, to never, ever surrender. This is their destiny, and it is a destiny that will echo through the ages, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human race. The end.